Welcome. Today, we're diving deeply into an ancient concept that may just hold the key to transforming the way we live, work, and relate to the world around us. This concept, known as Wu Wei, comes from Daoism, a philosophy originating in ancient China over 2,000 years ago. While Wu Wei is often translated as non-action or effortless action, these words are just the surface of a much more profound and subtle way of being. Wu Wei is not about passivity or laziness. It's not about giving up on goals or desires. Rather, Wu Wei is about learning how to move in harmony with life itself, aligning with the natural flow rather than struggling against it. It teaches us that sometimes, the most effective action is no action at all. To start, let's picture a river, winding through a landscape. This river flows around rocks and bends in the land, effortlessly finding its way through the natural world. It doesn't resist the obstacles it encounters, nor does it try to control its direction. Instead, it adapts, flowing around the rocks, over pebbles, through meadows and valleys. Now imagine a leaf floating on the river. The leaf doesn't resist the flow, doesn't try to steer itself, it simply lets the river carry it along. This is the essence of Wu Wei, a state of surrender, ease, and trust in the flow of life. Wu Wei is about learning to let go, to understand that sometimes, the greatest power comes from allowing ourselves to be carried rather than forcing our will upon life. In our modern world, the idea of letting go can seem strange, even counterproductive. We're often taught that success and happiness come from hard work, from striving, from constantly taking control of our lives. We're encouraged to set goals, to push ourselves, to hustle and be productive. And while effort and discipline have their value, Wu Wei reminds us of something equally important, the power of non-action. It's about understanding that there's a natural rhythm to life and that, often, the most effective way forward is to align ourselves with this rhythm rather than resisting it. To really understand Wu Wei, it helps to look at its roots in Daoism. Daoism is a philosophy that centers on the concept of the Tao, or the Way. The Tao is the force that underlies and unites all things. It's the natural order of the universe, the flow that guides the seasons, the growth of plants, the movement of the stars, and the instincts of animals. Taoists believe that there's a profound intelligence within the Tao, a wisdom that guides life at every level. To live in accordance with Wu Wei is to align ourselves with this intelligence, to move with life's flow rather than against it. Let's look at nature as our teacher in Wu Wei. Think of a tree. The tree doesn't rush to grow. It unfolds gradually, season by season, rooted firmly in the earth, reaching toward the sky without any sense of hurry. A river doesn't force its way through rocks. It flows around them, finding the path of least resistance. Animals don't resist the cycles of life. They adapt to them, moving with the changing seasons, trusting their instincts to guide them. Nothing in nature forces itself to be what it's not. Everything flows, adapts, and unfolds at its own pace. This is the essence of Wu Wei. When we let go of the need to control and instead allow life to guide us, we discover that life often has its own wisdom, its own intelligence. So, what would it look like to live with Wu Wei in our daily lives? Let's start by looking at work. In our society, productivity and achievement are often placed above all else. We're taught that success is the result of hard work, of always doing more, of pushing ourselves to the limit. But have you ever experienced a moment when you were so fully absorbed in a task that time seemed to disappear? You weren't thinking about the next step or trying to control each detail. You were simply in the moment, in the flow. This is Wu Wei at work, a state where action arises naturally, where we accomplish more by doing less, by being fully present. Think of a dancer in the middle of a performance. They're not analyzing every step. They're fully in the rhythm of the music, allowing their body to move naturally. Or imagine a musician in the middle of a song, not overthinking each note but letting the music flow through them. This is Wu Wei in action, a state of relaxed concentration where effort becomes effortless. When we allow ourselves to flow with the task, we discover that we accomplish more without strain, that our work feels fulfilling rather than exhausting. Let's consider how Wu Wei applies to our relationships. Relationships are often an area where we feel a strong need for control. We want others to behave in ways that make us comfortable, to align with our expectations, to follow our vision for how things should be. But Wu Wei in relationships means letting go of this need for control. It's about creating space for others to be who they are, rather than trying to shape them into our own ideal. Imagine holding a butterfly in your hand. If you close your fist tightly, the butterfly will struggle, and you might harm it. But if you hold it gently, with an open hand, the butterfly is free to stay or fly away. This is Wu Wei in relationships. It's about holding things lightly, allowing others the freedom to grow, to make their own choices, to find their own path. This doesn't mean passively accepting behavior that's harmful to us, but it does mean approaching others with compassion and openness rather than trying to impose our will upon them. When we stop trying to fix others, we create space for genuine connection, for love, and for understanding to grow naturally. One of the greatest challenges of Wu Wei is the art of letting go. Letting go can feel like a loss of control, and as humans, we're often uncomfortable with uncertainty. We want to know what will happen, we want to plan every detail, to make sure that everything turns out exactly as we envision. But Wu Wei invites us to consider a different perspective. It suggests that letting go doesn't mean giving up, but rather, it means releasing our grip on things we cannot control. It's a kind of surrender that opens the door to freedom, to growth, and to peace. Imagine you're rowing a boat against a powerful current. You're exhausted, struggling to make progress, yet the current keeps pushing you back. Now, imagine stopping for a moment, resting your oars, and letting the current carry you. This is Wu Wei. The practice of allowing yourself to be carried by the flow of life, trusting that sometimes, the best thing we can do is to release our grip and let things unfold naturally. By letting go, we don't lose control. We find a different kind of power, a power that comes from alignment rather than force. Think of a sailboat on the open sea. The sailor cannot control the wind, but they can adjust the sails to catch it. By working with the wind rather than against it, the sailor moves forward, not by force but by aligning with nature. Wu Wei teaches us to do the same in our lives. When we stop trying to control every outcome, when we learn to adjust to life's natural flow, we often find that things fall into place on their own. So how do we cultivate Wu Wei in our daily lives? It starts with presence. When we're fully present, we're able to see situations clearly, without judgment, without the filters of fear or desire. This clarity allows us to respond to life with calmness and clarity, rather than reacting impulsively or trying to force an outcome. The next time you find yourself struggling with a situation, take a moment to pause, to breathe. Ask yourself, what would happen if I let go just a little? Notice how this subtle shift creates space for ease, for a sense of peace. Living with Wu Wei means embracing the unknown. Life is unpredictable, filled with changes, moments of joy, and moments of challenge. Wu Wei teaches us that we can't control everything, and that in trying to do so, we create stress, frustration, and resistance. But when we let go, when we trust in the natural flow of life, we find a different kind of freedom. Wu Wei teaches us to be like the river, flowing around obstacles rather than fighting against them, finding our way with harmony rather than force. As we close, remember that Wu Wei is not about abandoning our goals or avoiding responsibility. It's about approaching life with a light touch, with a sense of ease and trust. Wu Wei reminds us that we can be fully engaged, fully alive, without struggling against life. It shows us that letting go is not a weakness, but a powerful, liberating way to live. Thank you for joining me on this journey into Wu Wei. May this understanding bring peace, clarity, and flow into your life. May it remind you that by releasing your grip, by letting go, life can carry you to places of beauty, grace, and meaning. This is the power of Wu Wei, the gentle, effortless strength of letting go.